Welcome in, everybody, to another episode here of The Fan and the Professor. Welcome in, everybody. Now I can finally say that last week I got tripped up saying, and it wasn't as the very first one, but really excited about another week, another time to talk about Arizona Cardinals. What's going on over there, Joseph?
Not much, man. Just having a great week and excited to talk Cardinals, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's definitely a lot of things to talk about, especially because we have preseason just around the corner. We got, 4 days away, my friend?
Man, it's been a long time coming.
It really has, man. It really has. I'm ready to go. Like, I'm really ready for this football season to go. And usually I'm not excited about preseason, but just because we didn't have it last year makes me want it that much more.
Yeah. And, I've been really paying close attention to some of the rookies, probably more than I do most years. I mean, I follow it, but, since I've been doing the channel, following it even closer. So those storylines about who's going to make the team, who's going to make the practice squad, I'm really excited to watch, the undrafted tight end of North Carolina State, right?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So we definitely got a fun-filled show today, man. We got some 3 amazing topics that we want to go ahead and go over today and just overall have a good time. Obviously, football is in the air, so a lot of people are very excited. The first topic we want to get to here is obviously the latest Cardinal news, the signing of Ito Smith, as well as some training camp, either updates or stories, things that we really want to talk about that, has some validity, and we really want to talk about it. So let's first start off with the signing of Ito Smith. What do you think about this signing here? And do you think it's more of a camp body, or do you think they really could use his talents in this coming year?
So, the question is, are they going to keep 3 or 4 running backs right off the bat, right? And if they keep 4, I think he's got a chance to compete. If they keep 3 running backs, I'd be really surprised if he ends up being that 3rd running back. He's got the potential. He was originally with the Atlanta Falcons, and I actually live in Georgia, so I have some good friends that are Falcons fans. I actually texted one of my buddies, Nathan, when they signed him, and, got to get his thoughts, and he loved Ito Smith. He's low to the ground, good balance. He's not a burner. So he's a talented kid. But, obviously the top 2 backs are lock. And that 3rd running back position, you've got, Jonathan Ward, and Eno Benjamin that are duking it out and seem to both be having a good camp. So if I had to place a bet, I'd bet he's a training camp body and maybe even a potential practice squad guy. But, you never know.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree. I know I've heard some good things about Eno Benjamin. Now, coming out of the draft, I was really excited that we ended up drafting him a couple years back. He's obviously ASU. He's got that relationship here with Arizona. So being that we drafted him, I was excited, and so was a lot of the fan base. And we were all very concerned when it came down to him not playing very much last year. But I get it. It was pretty much the Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds show. But I would love to see some Eno Benjamin. But we might see him this year. We might see him. Like you said, we might have a 3-way head going on. Now, I have a question for you. Do you think it's going to be a number 1 running back type of thing where we see it with a lot of teams? Or do you think it's going to be more of a running back by committee?
I do think it's going to be a committee. I think at the goal line situations, we're going to see a heavy dose of James Conner. I mean, that and short yardage. I think he's going to definitely get those short yardage goal line carries. But he's also, even though he's a big back, he's got some receiving skills and he's got a good track record. So I think actually what it's going to probably look like, and I've made this comparison before, is what it looked like in Green Bay before Jamal Williams left as a free agent, when, had, the 2 backs that they would kind of rotate in, and one would take a series or 2 than the other one. At this point, it sounds like Chase Edmonds is supposed to be the one who gets more carries. But Connor's been looking good in camp too. So I think they're going to alternate off. I don't think it's going to be a situation where Connor's the early down back and Edmonds, the 3rd down back, even though based on their profiles, that's what you would conventionally think. They seem to be making a commitment to want to give Edmonds a chance to be more of an every down back. So I think it's going to be kind of like a 60-40 kind of split with Edmonds as the lead back.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Well, here's my concern. I think that when it comes down to the Arizona Cardinals, I love what we're doing. But there's also some concern that comes with Connor. When he was with Pittsburgh, he had some really good years, especially his rookie year with the Steelers. But after that, there was some injuries. Some injuries when it came down to it. And that's something that I'm really worried about. Obviously, our offensive line got better. We established it a lot better. But we also have Chase Edmonds, which also has some injury in the past. Are you somehow worried about can our running backs maintain their health?
I mean, if the question is on its own, am I worried about their ability to stay healthy? Worried's a strong word, but do I?
Yeah.
I mean, someone's going to get dinged up. Will it
Yeah.
be just for a game or two, or will it be longer? I don't know. But if the question is, does that in itself worry me? Not overly, because and this gets to my belief about how you should approach the running back room. I think what you do is you build a good offensive line, you get a handful of capable running backs, and if they've done the job the right way in terms of building that offensive line, if those two backs get injured and Benjamin and Jonathan Ward are taking the carries, if we've got a good offensive line, they're going to be productive, right? Sure. And maybe not, they don't have the same skill sets as Edmonds and Connor, and I'm not trying to say that, but you look at what San Francisco's done, right? Good offensive line, good blocking scheme, and every year they just plug in another undrafted free agent and have an effective running game. So do I think one of them will get injured? Yeah, I mean, there's a good likelihood of that, but I'm not worried about that because they have upgraded that offensive line.
Okay, that's completely fair. What are some stories that you've heard so far that you want to talk about? One thing I want to mention is the fact that Marco Wilson,
okay,
this guy getting out of the draft, when maybe last week I didn't have so much high hopes that he might be a starter for our defense. I think he might have a fair chance of becoming a starter in terms of cornerback. Now, we all know Xavier Howard is not an option anymore. He got his extension with Miami Dolphins. That is no longer going to be talked about here in this podcast anymore. He's no longer a thought. But a lot of rumors are saying that Marco Wilson is doing a really good job here in training camping, might get the opportunity to become either second, third cornerback for this Arizona Cardinal defense. And that makes me excited. That makes me very excited for our defense.
Yeah, I think if there's an injury, obviously he's got a good chance. I still think the starters are going to be veterans. Cornerback is one of the tougher positions to make that transition to pros. And man, Wilson's got the physical tools, but coming out of college, the biggest things were the decision making, and I'm not even talking about the stuff throwing the shoe. I want to let that kid die, live that down, right? I don't want to hold that against him. But aside from that, some of his decision making on the field, there were question marks at points. So, when I think he's going to struggle if he ends up in that role starting, I think he would struggle. Now, obviously, if we get some injuries, that might change. But he's going to make the team. I think they'll rotate him in sometimes. I'd be really surprised if he comes out of camp as a starter, and especially when you consider that Alford seems to be looking pretty good in camp. So I don't think that's happening. But listen, I could be proved wrong.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And I think something that we touched on last week when we were talking is that the Cardinals do favor veterans. And I think it's very, very obvious that we've done this year after year after year, especially when Kine is in the front office. So I do think that it is Alfred's job to lose. But it would be awesome to see Marco Wilson. But yeah, he definitely will struggle. It's definitely it's different from the collegiate level to the NFL. Like night and day type of stuff. And he's going to have to go through the bumps and bruises in order to be a great cornerback in the NFL. So any other stories that you've seen?
Yeah, the story that's got me excited is the reinvigoration of AJ Green. I mean, and I did a video projecting what I thought his stats would be like this season, how the Cardinals would use him. And now that I'm hearing the reports and seeing some of the video, some of the clips coming out, man, it's really sounding like he's the old AJ Green, maybe not prime AJ Green, but he's playing like he did like 3 years ago. And I thought he was going to maybe get 40 to 50 receptions, 500 yards, 6 touchdowns. And I think I was selling him low. I think he is, from what I'm really excited to see how he performs. And I think we might be looking at, 70 receptions, 800 yards, maybe even more, 8 to 10 touchdowns. I think it's sounding like he's going to be impressive. So if he can stay healthy, right? That's always the question. But I'm really excited. And then also, obviously, in general, the receiver room, what we're hearing about Rondale Moore. I am really excited there's a chance this offense could really take that jump we were hoping for last year with those receivers stepping up.
Yeah, I agree. I ended up going to the training camp last week, and it was fun. Got to see a lot of cool things. Malcolm Butler got an interception. We've seen Kyler Murray, obviously get a couple touchdowns. That was pretty exciting to see. And I did see Rondale Moore. Also, catching the, punts, returning the ball and stuff like that. So they definitely might use him in special teams a lot first, in my opinion, and they'll go and work his way into the offense and stuff like that. One thing I noticed that, you know me, I like to stir up some drama. One thing I noticed when I was there at the training camp was Jordan Hicks and his demeanor on the sidelines. Now, in this corner, I saw Chandler Jones, Zaven Collins, Buda Baker, Isaiah Simmons having a grand old time, talking, bickering, just like they were, best friends, having a beer and the barbecue having. And I saw Jordan Hicks. My eye was at him because I knew exactly where he was at, walking around, looking into the floor.
Yeah.
Kind of slouch. It's kind of sad to see. It sucks because I knew what he did for us this last offseason, and it sucks that he doesn't really have an opportunity to be a starter in this defense, but I see why Kime did it. Because let's be honest, if we had another first-round pick that doesn't produce right away, his head will be on a stick. I'm not saying he'll get fired, but he will get so much criticism, and I think that might be one of the main reasons why they automatically solidified Zaven Collins as a starter right off the bat. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do feel bad for Hicks. I mean, he, like you said, he restructured for the Cardinals. He's been a starter. I think, again, I think I've said this before. Usually, you at least give the illusion that there's a competition. You don't say there's no competition. So at least, if you want to give him the chance to feel like he's competing, and then if he doesn't win the job, but I get why he'd be disappointed. But it's also disappointing, if what you're saying really is what it sounds like.
Right.
I think the best. I mean, I understand why they want to keep him. He's a veteran. You want depth. In fact, from what I've been hearing, is that they've got some defensive packages where he is on the field and Simmons is playing the edge. In the end, he might end up, if he's with the team, he might still end up getting 300-400 snaps that way. But Tana Vallejo's a decent inside linebacker, and you can always pick up guys. When it comes time for cuts from other teams. So I don't know. Part of me really feels like the best thing to do is if they can't swing a trade for him, let him free and let him try to pick up somewhere else where he might get to be a starter and go with the depth that they've got there.
I agree. And I don't think he's going to go anywhere. It was just a really sad sight to see, honestly. It was a very sad sight to see. You would want him to kind of, be with his compadres there and just hanging out and stuff like that, because he was in the defense, for a couple of years back. And but I just wanted to kind of bring that up. I don't think he's going anywhere personally. The depth and the veteranship is real, and I do think we need him to make us a swing type player. So any other stories before we move on to the next topic?
I just want to mention one of our subscribers, I think it was Chris, might have been his name, messaged me, and he said, make sure we bring up Matt Prater. Just what a huge addition that is. Sounds like he's making all his kicks in camp, and that he said that he thought we'd be 10-6 if we had him last year. So I want to make sure and mention that, because he commented on that. So, nice. And that's going to be one of those kind of underrated storylines this season, I think.
That's fair. I mean, as long as he makes his kicks, we don't have to worry about talking about a kicker on Mondays. And I do not want to have that same conversation and be like, what are we doing on special?
You want to not have to talk about the kicker.
Exactly. And if he can bring us that light, then hey, I would be absolutely excited, guys. Let's move on to the next topic here, and that is going to be previewing Cardinals versus Cowboys this coming Friday, 7 p.m. AZ time. What do you want to see? Do you want to start off, or do you want me to start off?
I'll start with one point, and then you get in, and I'll come back. Sweet. I want to see Cowboys fan cry. I hate the Cowboys, and I lived for 5 years in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for school, so hate the Cowboys. So yeah,
that's fair. One thing that I want to see, and I think that Cliff Kingsbury talked to it I believe it was today, or it was sometime over the weekend. But basically, he was saying, the media asked, what's going to be, Kyler? Like, what is going to be his workload in this game 1? Obviously, they also asked, the next 2 games, but they're like, we're going to take one game at a time. But he said, we're going to see Kyler Murray and the starters game 1, which actually makes me very excited. The reason why is because the end of the last season didn't look very good on the offense. So I want this preseason to really spark excitement, not only just from our offense, but from Kyler Murray as well. I want him to light it up and really get us excited as a fan base again. We're going to see him. Now, not sure how long, if it's going to be 1 quarter, a few different drives, but I want to see Kyler Murray there. Game 2 too. Game 3 we'll see what happens, but I'm really excited about seeing Kyler Murray, but I want to see him perform.
Yeah. I'll tell you, the thing I want to see above all else, aside from Cowboys fans crying, is I want to see these cornerbacks hold their own, because Dallas has an outstanding receiving core. And this is going to be a big test starting out for this cornerback group. So that's the one individual matchup. Obviously this is a position group where we are paying attention to. We've already talked about it. It's the one that Cardinals fans have been rightly concerned about throughout the offseason. So if our cornerbacks and even our depth cornerbacks, our rookies, the guys down the line, can hold their own against the Dallas wide receivers, that's going to be something that I think would be cause for optimism. And the other thing, the offense, offenses are always a little rusty. Offenses take longer to get going than defenses. So I'm not too worried about how Kyler looks as long as he's healthy. But I do want to see the offensive line look good, right? That's the group I want to see come out and look good. And if Kyler misses his receivers or even throws some picks, I'm not going to worry about that. It's early. But I want to see that offensive line holding their own, being physical, keeping Kyler clean. That's another thing I want to see.
Right. I do think that if he gets roughed up, and let's be honest here, preseason, there's a lot of vanilla type of offense and sometimes vanilla type of defense as well, just really depending on the head coaches and really what they want to, what kind of stamp that they want to put on this preseason. None of these games count, but it's good to get the live reps, because you can practice, you can have training camp all you want. The moment you get hit in a real lifetime game, it's different. So we can talk, glow about, these big stories coming out of training camp, this and that. But the bottom line is that it's not real. Like it's not real. They're in shorts. He doesn't have any pads on. He's got his red shirt on. He's not going to get hit. So he's got the comfortability. The reason why I want to see Kyler Murray is because what happened last year. I'm still sour about it, honestly. Although the excitement level is there for my Cardinals, and I want the Cardinals to succeed, I'm still sour. I'm still bitter. I want to make sure that they revive this fan base, and by fan base I mean me.
Right. Right. Yeah, I hear you. Obviously with preseason, you just there's like you said, they're doing things vanilla. To me, you just want to see the guys healthy and maybe some people doing their job well. I just remember seasons where the Cardinals went 4-0 in the preseason and then had a losing record, so I don't worry too much. I don't worry too much about the outcomes. It would be nice though to see them execute some plays, crisply and on track. But again, for me, it's seeing some of those units where we need the depth to play well. Seeing those guys performing is to me kind of where I focus on.
That's fair. No, that's fair. And I completely agree. As long as we can see the plays and it looks good, I don't need to see him out for a full quarter. As long as we can, hit the receivers that we want to hit, I'm not asking for a 300. I know preseason we're probably going to get, just a certain amount of drives. So we're not going to be able to do that. But I definitely want to make sure that they can execute these third-year offense in Cliff Kingsbury, because it's very important that they do so. One other thing that I want to see in terms of this game, I don't really care if we win. Like you said, it'd be cool to see a Cowboy fan cry, because my dad is actually a Cowboy fan. He tried to raise me up as a Cowboy fan. And I just obviously went to the Cardinal route just because I've always been a homer. But I don't know. I want to see. It's so hard to say because like I know the whole vanilla-ness of it, but I would love to see the running backs get more reps. Like, and I don't mean in terms of like James Conner or Chase Edmonds, but the other running backs, the ones we're unfamiliar with, to see what they can bring to the table. Because I like the idea of having 3 running backs, especially if we do the by the committee type of stuff. So I don't know. Hopefully to see Eno Benjamin, that would be really cool. That would make my ASU-ness, very, very happy inside. And just kind of overall the rookies perform. Here's a question for you. Do you think we're going to see a lot of Zaven Collins?
Yeah, I think we are. I think because of all the responsibility they're putting on the rookies, and because they've got to be ready to go. I think those two, if I had to guess, I think those two will see more snaps during the preseason than any of the other starters. They need to be ready regular season. So I don't think they'll play necessarily the whole game, but I think they'll see a few more series than the other starters. That would be my guess.
Okay. That's fair. That's absolutely fair. Big shout out to my guy Red Sea coming up clutch. My goodness. And I like to call him Moneybags Red Sea. Let me go give him a quick shout out here real quick. I hate that I'm busy for the stream. Question for Rule. Who do you think will make the roster from our day 3 picks?
Yeah, in fact, I posted a poll question about this on my community page. I think Marco Wilson is a lock.
Yeah.
I think that actually the next player who has the best chance is Wiggins. I think with his special teams playing, I think they want to keep him, and I don't think they want to risk losing him. I'm worried for Gowan, Demukije and Manet. We've talked about this. We both love Gowan.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see them lose him. I don't want them to try to get him through waivers so they can get him on the practice squad, because I think someone might pick him up.
I agree.
But I'm worried that they might try to do that. So I think Wilson and Wiggins are the best bets. And I think that Gowan, because of the depth, has the hardest road to hoe. I think Demukije has a pretty, I think there's not as much depth at pass rusher. Well, there's depth, but there's like 3 guys, right? And then Demukije, and I think he's got a reasonable chance to make it. And actually, Manet's got a reasonable chance if they keep 10 offensive linemen, or if Winters, doesn't get to practice much and they end up cutting him. Manet's got a reasonable chance. So that's kind of how I kind of view that.
That's fair. Yeah, I agree. Wiggins and Wilson. Yeah, I completely agree. And for those specific reasons, when it comes down to edge, we kind of have that defensive line, I feel like, pretty much already locked. Even with edge, with Chandler and, whatever they want to go ahead and move around, because you even said that we might even see Isaiah Simmons on the edge as well. So it would be really hard to keep people there if we don't have a specific spot for them, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Now, one thing that I want to mention too as well, I've been seeing a lot of people talking about this, and now I don't know if you heard anything about it, but the thought of having CJ Henderson, cornerback from the Jags, somebody said that he was on the trading block. And would you be interested in grabbing CJ Henderson?
So I saw that report as well. And, on one side, if you can add a good cornerback who was an early first-round pick, that's something you want to consider. But then you have to wonder, why is Jacksonville trying to unload him? It's, with Xavier Howard, you saw there was great performance and it was a contract issue. So you understood that, but the Henderson thing, it's not the same situation. So that gives me pause. And, I don't know. I like some of the cornerbacks we have. It's already a deep room, and maybe this is just me being a little too much of a fan, but like anyone we bring in, that's another one of those rookies, players I like, who's not going to make the team. Right. Or doesn't have, or makes it harder. So I just, what's going on with him? Why is he on the block? Right. And if so, that gives me some pause. I probably think it's more trouble than it's worth to try to bring in a guy who, especially if we don't know what's going on. So
yeah, I agree, man. I love the idea of Howard. Because of what he definitely put on tape, and he deserved to get an extension. When it comes to CJ Henderson, we really don't know what he has. We've seen some potential out of him, but I would hate to give up a pick and really, like you said, push back any cornerbacks that we got in the draft, just giving them that much more room to not make it. So I completely 100% agree with you there. I say stay away for now. Let's see what we have going on. Hopefully Robert Alford can stay healthy. Malcolm Butler is doing his thing. And then we got Byron Murphy in the slot. Or he moved to the outside. We'll see.
Right.
Let's keep on reading to the comments here. Do you have anything else that you want to see in this Cardinals versus Cowboys game?
I think we hit on most of it, but I think I would circle around to something you said with the running backs. I think it makes sense to want to see those guys further down the depth chart, and I'll connect that to something I said a few minutes ago about that the way you want to approach that running back situation is to build the offensive line and be able to have a situation where whoever you plug in there is effective. So I want to see Jonathan Ward and Benjamin and Ito Smith and whoever else, is still on the roster by the time we get to that point. I want to see those guys in there running effective behind this offensive line. So then that's telling me, one, that the running backs are playing well within the system, and two, that the offensive line is playing well. So I think that's a really great point you brought up as far as wanting to see good reps from the running backs further on down the depth chart.
Yeah, because we know what James Conner has, and we know he's going to be, either the number one or 60-40. We know what Chase Edmonds has. Let's see what we can have coming up with this, improve offensive line, give them the opportunity. Because one thing I hate is that, we put them out there. They're like, here's your opportunity, but the offensive line that we put them with is garbage.
Right.
So why not give them the opportunity and be like, these are the starters. We're really looking for either a third string running back, because, there was the occasion that year that we had literally no running backs and we had to go ahead and get that kind time sign and get, Kenyon Drake, but we were rolling with some terrible names out there. We just were really bad on the, the running game with no big names, no people, no star players. So I would love to see what Ward can do, what Benjamin can do, what Smith can do. So give them the opportunity. Why the heck not? It's preseason.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's take a look here. Question for you. And this is kind of not really Cardinals versus Cowboys related, but backup quarterback. You think it's obvious lock Colt McCoy, or you think Streveler has an opportunity?
No, I think Colt McCoy is going to be the guy. Streveler, I think it's not a foregone conclusion that Streveler will be on the 53-man roster. And in fact, if he makes the roster, I think it's because he does stuff on special teams and they use him more as that kind of Swiss Army knife kind of player, Taysom Hill. But it sounds like Colt McCoy's looked pretty decent, and Colt McCoy is a veteran quarterback who's had some starting experience. You don't want him as your starter, but if you need a guy who can step in and not look horrible, he's the guy who can do that. I think if he were our backup quarterback last year, we would have won at least one of those two games we needed, against the Rams or the 49ers. So if it's me, actually, the idea of using Streveler like a Taysom Hill is something that I think is appealing as an idea, but the Cardinals had him all last season and didn't do that. I think he had 4 snaps as running the ball. So they didn't show a willingness or ability or both to use him that way. So for me, I think you try to get Streveler on your practice squad and you go with Colt McCoy and Kyler Murray as your quarterbacks.
That's fair. Just keep the two. And I agree with you, the whole Colt McCoy. I definitely think he's got the ability to win games. And it just wasn't fortunate that we didn't have a backup quarterback last year to take down the backup quarterbacks for the San Francisco 49ers and the Rams as well. So hopefully we can run it back and have a better end to the season here. Now, one thing I also want to mention here, and I believe, let me see here. It was a comment that I had. Oh, JJ Watt. No, he's not going to play preseason, right? Just to kind of nip it in the bud right now. I don't think he's
I'd be shocked. Yeah, I'd be shocked if we saw him.
I agree. I think they're going to save him for, week 1 versus the Tennessee Titans. I think that's the smartest thing to do. We know what he can do. He's already established. Give the guy some rest. And, he's in the PUP list. He doesn't really do much in training camp anyway. So,
yeah, keep him healthy. He doesn't need the reps. He knows what he's doing. He'll be ready.
I agree. Perfect. Awesome. So now let's get to the section here, which most likely will take a good amount of time. We're going to do our final season prediction. Here we go, boys and gals. I'm excited about this. All 17 games. We're going to go ahead and do final game prediction, game by game. And the chat, we want you guys to be interactive as well. So if you guys have something clever to say, put it on the chat and we'll go ahead and shout you out. If my guy Joseph or I see something clever, definitely we will shout you guys out for sure. Let me go ahead and change this banner here and let's do what we got to do. First game.
Week 1 at Tennessee. All right, so this is one of those games I wrestled with. I think anything can happen. Obviously, I could see the Cardinals coming out of here with a W, but I went ahead and had this as an L. We're on the road at Tennessee. They're a good team. With Julio Jones, and obviously they added him. Wouldn't surprise me if the Cardinals get a W, but I went ahead and had this as an L.
Okay, that's fair. All right, so let's take a look here. Tennessee Titans went to the playoffs. They're hungry. They're a good team. They got King Henry. I'm going to say an L too. I'm going to go ahead and say an L as well. And just because of the reasons of Julio Jones and A.J. Brown and King Henry back there, man, I feel like that offense is going to be overpowered.
Yeah, absolutely. So week 2, we've got Minnesota at home, and I'm giving this a W. I like Mike Zimmer as a coach. I don't trust Kirk Cousins as a quarterback. I think Zimmer's a good coach, but I don't think, their cornerback situation, Pat, we know what Pat Pete has been for us. I think he'll be a little better than he was, but I think he's on the downside of his career. I think that's going to be a win for us.
Okay, perfect. This is a tough one. I feel like every time we play the Vikings, every time we play Carolina, we just cannot get past their defense. And I don't want to say 0-2. I don't. But they also have a young wide receiver over there.
Did you say Carolina or Minnesota?
Yeah, Carolina. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. I'm saying like
Minnesota.
defenses like Minnesota and also Carolina. Okay. Yeah, like we just can't get past their defense. Like something about those two teams. Every time I see them, I'm like, L. They have a star running back in Cook. They got 2 wide receivers and, Thielen, as well as, Justin Jefferson, which is an up-and-coming star. I don't want to say 0-2. I really don't. But Pat P, I'm going to say win. I'm going to say win just because I can't justify saying 0-2. So 1-1, I got myself so far.
Yeah, you're supposed to be the more optimistic one than me, man. How can you, right? You can't give an L1. I got to win. All right, so next one we got at Jacksonville. I think that's a win. I think that's going to be, as much as Trevor Lawrence, I think is going to be a quarterback. I think that's going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. Yeah. So I got us with a win at Jacksonville.
I agree with that one as well. I think they're still in rebuilding mode. I think anything that Trevor Lawrence does, that fan base is going to be excited. They can have 3 or 4 or 5 wins for the season. They'll be like, we have Trevor Lawrence. Right. We have hope. So I agree with you. 2-1, we will start off the season.
So the next game, week 4, is at the Los Angeles Rams. I know, right? And I hate to give away my week 14 prediction, but I'm just going to do it now. Until I see Kingsbury beat the Rams with his game plan, I am not going to pick the Cardinals to beat the Rams. He hasn't done it yet. And as much as I don't want to be as down on Kingsbury as everyone else is, he needs to show me he can, scheme up a game plan that can beat Sean McVay. And until he shows me that once, I will never pick them as the winner against the Rams.
That is completely fair. Okay. Let me think here. So Rams. Let me do a quick
in LA.
At Rams, right? Oh, it's at LA. Okay, let me see who. Okay, so they played the Chicago Bears, the Colts, the Bucks, and then us. I'm gonna say the Cardinals win.
Okay.
Just because I think we're gonna catch them sleeping. Okay. I think we're gonna catch them sleeping. I think we're gonna go ahead and get the win this time. So I'm gonna give the Cardinals a win. I'm gonna say 3-1.
Okay. I hope you're right.
Me too.
I want to be wrong.
Me too.
So week 5, we have San Francisco at home. I know a lot of people think San Francisco is going to be really good this year. That they did have an unusual number of injuries last year, and they do have a good roster aside from quarterback, I guess. Yeah. but I don't trust their quarterback situation. Who's going to be starting? Is it going to be Jimmy G? And if so, how is he going to play? Is he going to stay healthy? Is it going to be Trey Lance? If so, as much as potential as he's shown, he's still a rookie. So I have this as a win against San Francisco at home.
San Francisco at home. I think we will still see Jimmy G here. And I think we got his number. So I'll say we get the win here. And that's going to push San Francisco 49ers to go with starting Trey Lance after we smoke them here. So okay, I say 4-1, we're starting the season.
We are going to usher in the Trey Lance era in San Francisco.
Exactly. We're going to make all the San Francisco 49er fans want Trey Lance after we
Nice. Okay. So week 6, we are playing at Cleveland. Now, I know, right? Man, Cleveland, listen, I think Baker Mayfield is a decent quarterback, but that system is really helping him out with the play action pass and you know the way they do with the bootlegs and kind of having them only have to work half the field. And then, you know, I think pretty easily they have the best rushing game in the NFL as a whole. Between like their top 2 guys both would be top 10 starters, you know, if you separated them. Yeah. So I as much as I don't think they're as good as some people think they are, but they are good, and they are probably one of the most complete rosters in the NFL. So I do have this as a loss at Cleveland.
Okay, perfect. Let me see here. So Cleveland, I love the idea of Baker versus Murray again. The Sooner quarterbacks meet again. We have one on them, but I do think I agree with you. I think we're going to get a loss on this one. We're going to be 4-2, but for the reasons of Baker Mayfield is ready to compete. Their team is ready, completely playoff caliber team. They're ready to go. And on top of that, it's cold outside. we're going to be playing. We're playing there, right? Or is it our home?
It's at Cleveland, yeah.
Yeah, so we don't do very good up there, up north. So I say that we will lose that game as well.
All right, so week 7, I'm already marking you down for a W because that's Houston. But let's talk about why, right? I mean, this is going to be this. I feel bad for Texans fans. They have been dealt, and you know, less we've benefited from it, right? You know, on 2 counts, but the fans have been dealt the worst hand of any team in the NFL. That's that, and they don't have their picks to be first round picks to be excited about. So Houston is. If they aren't the worst team in the league this year, you know, if somehow, you know, they do end up having Watson starting, they might be the 2nd or 3rd worst team in the league, but it sounds like he's done playing there. So I think they're going to be the worst team in the league. And I think that's a W. Yeah,
that's fair. I know there were some reports saying Watson went to training camp and he was like at pads, everything was good to go. I just don't know what he would give full effort to this Texans organization anymore. He might just ride the bench just to kind of, you know, keep getting paid and try to force their hand. I do think obviously it's an easy win for us as well. I do feel bad for Texans fans just in general. It sucks. They lose DeAndre Hopkins. Their franchise quarterback. And let's be honest, I know everything that's happening right now with Deshaun Watson, it sucks. But this guy has it. Whatever the quarterback it is, this guy has it. So it sucks that they might lose him as well. So yeah, I say win for the Cardinals.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, there's a guy, I think it's John McClain is his name. He's a beat writer for the Texans who's really connected with them. And I saw a tweet that he said that Watson's played his last down for the Texans. So when you know that's a guy who's connected to that organization. Yeah. So when a guy like that comes out and says something like that, I tend to, you know, believe it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a Tyrod Taylor show, and you know I love Tyrod as a backup, but it's ugly.
And it's not even just a quarterback, man. It's the whole roster. Oh, it's just bad. David Johnson does not. He just Sorry, David Johnson.
No, it's ugly there. So yeah, for sure. So week 8, where we have Green Bay at home. I went with a loss here. I mean, you know, I think Aaron Rodgers is skill-wise maybe the best quarterback that's played up until the point that we had Patrick Mahomes. I know Brady's the GOAT in terms of what he's done altogether, but in terms of physical tools and everything he can do on the field, I'm a big Aaron Rodgers fan, and he seemed, you know, it looked like he was past his prime a couple years ago, and then he came back last year and had that amazing season. So, I think that's going to be a tough game. So I have Green Bay. I have Green Bay winning that one.
Oh man, this one is going to be so entertaining to watch. And it's primetime, right? Primetime game.
I don't have that in front of me, but if you say so, I'll believe you.
I think it is. Yeah, I think it is primetime. It's our home. Although I know that Aaron Rodgers is all that in a bag of potato chips, I get it. I think we'll come out with a W here.
Okay. We've won some exciting games there in recent years. So
yes.
So hey, I'd love to see that again. So you're going to go with the W.
I'm going to go with the win, man. So so far I have 6-2 so far.
Right.
I'm being over optimistic, my friend. I am super. What are you?
So let's see. Right now I have 4 and 4 and 4? I think right now.
Oh, yeah. 4 and 4. Oh my God, I'm too optimistic. Oh God. Okay, keep going.
All right. Week 9 at San Francisco. Now I went ahead and gave us a loss there. I think we could win both of those games, but maybe, I had us winning at home, and I felt like I was going to go and split that because, it is a tough division, a tough team. So I had us getting a loss at San Francisco, but I had us winning there earlier.
Right. I will go with the loss as well, too. I don't see us sweeping any team in our division. We just know each other too darn well. Right. And I feel like they can use that to their advantage. We do this, they'll counteract the next time. So I will say that they do come out with a W as well. Yeah. I'm sorry, yeah. San Francisco 49ers gets a W.
Yeah, okay. Week 10, we have Carolina at home. I have this as a win. I like what they're doing in terms of how they're building that team in Carolina, but they're a couple years away. They do have some nice players, some nice playmakers, actually some really good playmakers with DJ Moore and McCaffrey. I think Darnold is going to be better than he has been there. I think he's got better weapons than he ever had. But I think they're going to, in general, not be a competitive team just yet.
Gotcha. That's fair. So this one, I'm going to take the approach of what I was talking about with the Minnesota Vikings, where I'm like, that defense really just scares me, and just kind of overall, I'm going to go with the loss. And kind of for your reason, saying as long they have to prove it, it, because the last 4 or 5 years we've lost against Carolina Panthers, some heartbreaking, playoff losses as well when we had Ryan Lindley and the freaking NFC West Conference Championship. So I say we're going to lose that game as well, just because it's Carolina.
Right. Okay. Listen, we lost some last year, and it was a game we should have won, early in the season.
I agree. Exactly.
Yeah. So week 11, we're at Seattle. Now, we've had some good games in Seattle. In fact, the Cardinals are one of the few teams, in recent years that's actually been successful in Seattle. But I do have us getting the loss there this week. Or against them. That's our first game against Seattle. So I have Seattle winning at home in week 11.
Gotcha. Okay. This is going to be at Seattle.
Yeah.
I am going to stay with what we've done so far. Going over there, we come up with a W. I think we're going to retain that magic and get the W over there. So I would say win.
Okay. So week 12 is the bye. So hopefully the Cardinals don't lose that week, right? So week 13, we are at Chicago. Chicago's got a good roster, and they finally were able to draft a quarterback that's promising. And I wouldn't be shocked if Fields is playing at this point. But I did have this as a win. I think either we're going against Andy Dalton, who, isn't the worst quarterback in the league, but he's not, he's a bottom end starter at this point. Right. Or we're going against a rookie who, as promising, as he potentially is going to be, it's still against a rookie. So I have us getting the win in Chicago.
Win in Chicago. Okay. I think this one's going to be a hard fought game. I know this is kind of a weird question. What week is this again?
This is week 13.
Week 13. So we're probably looking around in November, right? Or at least end of October.
Yeah, maybe early November.
What scares me is the weather. And I fear that if this is a bad weather type game, Cardinals, we ain't good in the cold. We ain't good. We ain't good in the cold. So I'm going to say loss because I think that the way that the schedule laid out, and it is going to be at Chicago, right?
Well, this is December 5th at Chicago. December 5th, yeah.
Oh,
okay,
December. Oh, my goodness. Oh, yeah, loss.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yep, loss. We're going to
Okay.
be sliding everywhere we possibly could.
Okay, good. Icicles everywhere. Okay.
Icicles.
Nice. Okay. Week 14, you already know my pick because I already told you.
Yeah.
LA Rams at home. Loss for me for all the reasons I said earlier. Until they show me they can beat McVay, I'm not picking them to beat him.
Frick.
This is at home, though, so if you want to pick them to beat the Rams, obviously this is the week to do it. Oh, you already did.
I did.
You think
That's
they're going to sweep?
problem. Yeah, I was like, we caught them slipping, and I messed that up now. I do think that we'll come out with a loss here. I don't think that there's any team here that we're going to sweep. Like the NFC West is stacked as heck. So I'm going to say another loss for the Cardinals. And this is when I start panicking. Oh my God, it's over.
Right.
Stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So we're on the same page there.
Yeah.
Week 15 at Detroit. I have this as a win. I think Detroit's going to be one of the 3 worst teams in the league.
Yeah. I
think Goff is going to be better than people expect him to be, which isn't saying much. That's not a high bar to cross.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's got some talent. I don't think he's going to be a Pro Bowl quarterback, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's competent. But the team's bad. They're 3 years away from competing probably. And I'm not sold on their coach as much as he loves to chew on kneecaps or whatever. So I've got us winning in Detroit.
I agree, man. I agree. It sucks that, Jared Goff got traded in terms of like just the player, because he did very good when he played against us. So we never saw anything bad with it, but I knew when he played everybody else, everybody had an issue, but I will say a win for us as well, versus Detroit.
Okay. So week 16, we have Indianapolis at home. Now this
Christmas,
right? Okay. Yep. Christmas at home against Indianapolis. And Indianapolis, they've done a good job building that roster. They've done a good job drafting. Ballard's done a really good job there. I have us winning, and for me, the reason I have us winning all comes down to the quarterback situation. Like, are you confident Wentz will still be playing in week 16? I'm not.
True. I'm not either. You're 100% right.
And are we going to be looking at, a backup quarterback that we're very familiar with, who used to be an Arizona Cardinal? I mean,
yeah, I agree. I'm going to come with the W there as well. We're going to get an early Christmas present, and we put the W on Christmas Day.
I mean, the backups are a couple, young players, Jacob Eason and then Brett Hundley, right?
Yeah.
So,
all right, just say it there.
Yeah. So yeah, for me again, I have no idea who's going to be playing quarterback that week. But if I wanted to place a bet, I'd bet on the field as opposed to the idea that Wentz would still be starting.
True,
because of injuries. So you've got a win in there as well. Then
I agree.
Okay. Week 16 at Dallas when it does matter.
Wow.
Okay.
At Dallas.
Now I may be transparent here. I originally had us getting an L there not because I want Dallas to win. Obviously, I've made it clear how I feel about the Cowboys. Their offense, though, could be no joke this year, right? With Prescott, their defense could be a big joke, but and if they're playing for a playoff, position, in that division at that point, they could be tough. But I could not bring myself to give us an L against Dallas. I just can't, in my soul, I can't do that.
Yeah, I hear you.
So I have a W there against Dallas.
That's fair. I'm going to take a different approach. I know that everybody's really excited, Cardinals, playoffs, all that different stuff. I do think that we are a playoff team, wild card playoff team. I don't think we're a division winner playoff team quite yet. I'm going to say a loss here, and it hurts me too. But I do think that the Cowboys are going to be no joke. They're probably the best team in that NFC East. CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, and then, Ezekiel Elliott's going to try to revive everything he possibly can. I think we're going to lose that game.
Okay. Like I said, my head picked an L, but my heart came back with a W. So
I hear you.
Man. So week 18, that feels weird to say.
does. That is weird.
Versus Seattle. So we have Seattle at home. And I have us winning against Seattle at home. I remember I had us losing against them in Seattle. And part of my rationale, there's two parts of my rationale. One, we have played, we've done a good job of kind of hanging tough with Seattle, splitting the series, right? We don't, it's not like a Rams situation where they've got our number perpetually.
Right.
And I think at this point in the season, Seattle will already have a playoff spot wrapped up. And I don't now if Seattle is still playing to make the playoffs, I'm going to be worried, right?
Yeah.
But I think at this point they've already wrapped up. Now, I don't know that they're going to rest their starters, but I think the Cardinals are more likely to have stuff on the line at this point than Seattle. So I think the urgency is going to be more present with the Cardinals. So for all those reasons, I have the Cardinals winning versus Seattle in Week 18.
Okay. I agree with you. And that makes me saying that we're going to sweep the Seattle Seahawks. Oh, snap. I do think we're going to win, and that's a perfectly good reason, as you said. I think they're going to have something wrapped up already. They're a really good team with Russell Wilson. Although that hurts me to say, but I do think that we will come with the W, but more because they're going to be resting their starters more than anything. So I will say that's a win for us.
So we both came out, we took different paths, but we both came out with a 10-7 record.
We did 10-7.
You've got them coming out stronger out of the gate, and I have them finishing stronger.
That's fair. Yeah. So my approach was last year's approach, and I think that's kind of what my trend was. And then we started trailing, but we still did enough to make the playoffs because 10 wins, hopefully, fingers crossed, gets us to that playoff spot.
Yeah, I just want to throw a shout out. If you can get Rob Freeman just posted a comment about Riverboat Ron. Rob does a great job with a Cardinals Facebook group. And he is a good dude. And I don't know if you see his comment in there. It's up maybe about 5 or 6 back up.
Okay, perfect. I think I see it right here. Yep. Is it I think
Riverboat? Yeah. So would you mind putting that comment up there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm still looking for that one specific. I found one, but I didn't say anything about Riverboat though.
Oh, if he's got another one, just if you want to put one up from him, but
for sure. Oh, here it is. Oh my God, I'm blind as heck. Here we go.
So Riverboat Rivera has done an amazing job with that football team, proved the culture of that team. His team put up a good fight in the playoffs despite falling short. Yeah. So first of all, Rob, he does an amazing job. If you aren't part of the AZ Bird Gang group on Facebook, everyone go join that group. Rob's an outstanding moderator, really good dude. Really supports what content creators like Mike and I do. But yeah, and when you were talking about Dallas winning that division, I was thinking, Washington doesn't have the quarterback that Dallas has, but they're a darn good team, good defense, some good receivers, and well coached. So, I would not hand the division to Dallas just yet, if that makes sense. I think Washington has a chance to be there. Now, I think Philly's going to be a train wreck, and I don't believe in Daniel Jones and the Giants, but Washington could be right there with
There's Dallas. A lot of hype, man. There's a lot of hype on Daniel Jones. I'm just not buying into it. I know Saquon Barkley's still probably one of the best running backs out there. It's just it's not – that team is not doing it for me. I agree. It might be right there. Dallas Cowboys but here's for different reasons. Dallas Cowboys for offense because their defense I still think is not very good. Then we have the Washington football team. Their defense is looking pretty dynamite, but they also have Scary Terry over there, a great young wide receiver. And
they picked up Curtis Samuel. Fitz magic. It's very kind of chaotic with him, but he can be competent.
Yeah. I agree. I completely agree. All right, y'all. So 10-7. So we got different paths to get there, but that is what I hold true. I would love to see an extra. What were you 8-8? 2 wins from last year.
So let me ask you this question, Mike, because you've talked about, and we all know this division is so. clearly the toughest division in football.
I agree.
How many wins do the Cardinals have if they are in an average NFL division?
In an average, so that's what, 8 games? Wait, no, so that's 6 games usually per schedule.
Now you have to take into account if they're in that division, we're playing like like a third place schedule right now. We might, which means our non-division opponents might not, would be a little tougher potentially. But if
I would say if you're on an average division, I'd say you should average around like 10 to 12 games per season. If it's an average one, that's where I would go. I would say 11.
Okay. So if you think with the talent the Cardinals have, I've heard Colin Cowherd say that, the Cardinals, he thinks are going to be the best, worst place team in the NFL or last place team in the NFL. I think they're a 12-win team in another division. I think they get 2 more wins if they're playing in that. I think in any other division, you've got one doormat. There are no doormats in this division, right? And then probably another team that's kind of at best a 500 team. So I think they're a 12-win team in an average division.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Here's the thing. I think in the eyes of the Cardinal fans, we are playoff contenders. If you ask anybody else outside this division that's not Cardinal fans, we are the doormat. I almost positive 100% can tell you that right now. We are the baby brother. We are the doormat. And that's what pisses me off. But it's okay. We're better as underdogs more than anything. If you give us too much hype, we usually fall flat in our faces. But I do think that we can be a 10-win team this year. There really is no option. Like, we have to be a 10-win team. Like, we have to keep going up.
Yeah.
That's the next level from there on out. But I'm just excited, man. I'm really excited about football coming back and another opportunity to, I like to say, go for the Lombardi, but it's kind of hard to say when you have powerhouses like, Kansas City and, Cleveland Browns coming up there, as well as, on our side, in our conference, with the Bucks now being a powerhouse with Brady.
The thing with the NFL, though, I think more than others, because it's a 1-game per round playoff. Obviously, we just all got done with the heartbreak of the NBA playoffs and how exciting and then heartbreaking that was at the end. But like teams that are, if you get in, you've got a puncher's chance. I mean, you've got teams like Philadelphia and New York who have won NBA or NFL titles, championships by getting hot at the right time, and they weren't going in the best team, in the NFL as far as people's perceptions, right?
Right.
You think about, Giants who beat the 16-0, right? Patriots. So, man, you just got to get to the dance, and you never know, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think this team. I think people are sleeping on this team, and I'm not usually the kind of guy who says that stuff. I'm usually kind of the more reserved, but I think people are underestimating the talent on this team, and I think people are overestimating the 49ers.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, yeah, I hope so, man. I hope so. I would love to start this. Like I said, when I first saw this schedule, when it first came out, I was worried. Not going to lie to you. This schedule is harder than last year's schedule, but we're going to year 3. We should be getting better. That is the trend that happens. Same coaching staff, you should be getting better. So I'm holding hope that we should be making our, squeaking our way into the playoffs, wild card spot. But there's still a little worriedness that comes with this, man. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sit here and be like playoffs is a 100% thing, because I'm not convinced myself.
So we got 2 questions. We got one from Chris Cummins and then one from Banana Epic Gaming.
All right, let's get Chris first. Will Chandler Jones play week 1? I think it's trending in the right direction. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think there's any serious injuries or anything with him, right? I mean, the only reason I don't think the contract thing is, I think that thing that's resolved as resolved as it's going to be. Unless he gets injured, I think he's starting week 1. Yeah,
I agree. There's definitely no reason for him to not start unless this, contract Unless he gets pissed off somehow. But you said the next question was from Bananas, right?
Yeah, Banana
All right,
Epic
let's get my guy
Gaming.
Bananas up in here. What's up, dude? Hashtag question. What would you give up for CJ Henderson?
So we talked about this earlier, right? And neither of us were really buyers on that, right?
Yeah.
I give up a 4th round pick for that, take a shot at him, but I'm not giving up a premium pick for the reasons we talked about earlier. I don't want to, we don't know what's going on with why they want to get rid of him. So, I'm not giving up enough that Jacksonville would take the bait, right?
Right. I agree. I don't know, 3rd, but even then, like I really want to see what our young rookies can do. Mm-hmm. And I do think if we end up falling flat in our faces and these cornerbacks don't work out, there's always a trade deadline. Maybe we can go ahead and scoop them up there. Obviously, you'll have to pay more for a premium price, maybe a 3rd or a 2nd, just because you're more of a desperate type of team at that point. And then every team knows that. But as of right now, I'm not really interested. But I would say 3rd if I were to just give a pick in the dark. But yeah.
NFL AZ Cardinals has a question about Kyler.
Here we go. All right, my guy here. Does Kyler throw more than 30 touchdowns this year? That's a great question.
I think so. I think AJ Green is a big part of that. I think with what what he does in the red zone, he's a big target. I think, and then with Rondale Moore, I think I think the weapons we have are going to open things up. I think the guy we talked about last week, Rodney Hudson, is going to give Kyler more time, so he's not going to have to run as much. So he's going to. He doesn't. I don't think he's going to have a lot more than 30. I don't think this offense is built that way. There's a lot. I think they use the running game a lot more than that. Right. But I think he'll get to the low 30s.
Okay, that's fair.
What do you think?
I would love for him to go past 30. I really would. If I would have to give a number just to kind of, for giggles, I would say 34. I think 34 is a solid number for, receiving touchdowns. Maybe a few rushing touchdowns would be pretty nice to see. Last couple questions. I'm going to get my guy Mark Jackson up here real quick. He says, do you really have faith in Cliff's play calling after the end of last year? Now, I'm going to answer this one real quick. No. But I'm trying to take a positive outlook here. And then obviously, if it doesn't work out again, you'll see very angry Mike at the end of the year again. And then I would love to speak to all those people that were very happy about, Cliff Kingsbury going to week 3, because you better not say I want to see it 4 after this. But I say no, but I'm trying to be optimistic. Go ahead.
Man, I know there's a lot of hate for Cliff. And I'm not quite there with you all there yet. I don't think he's a bad coach. I mean, he still won 8 games with a team that was 2 years out from having the number 1 overall pick. I know they've improved the talent, but he's improved every year. Yes, he needs to improve his play calling. And there have been issues there, but man, I think he's still learning how to adapt to the NFL game, and people do get better, right? People do improve. So I'm not saying he's a great coach yet, but I think he's going to, I think he looked a lot at the mistakes he made last season, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see some much improved play calling from him.
Gotcha. All right. Last question here. I love this hashtag question because just because my eye right to it. So it's going to be my guy, right. Banana Epic Gaming coming up clutch. Here's a question that's going through everyone's mind. Do you think Larry Legend will be coming back? If he is, I see Johnson being the odd man out.
I don't think he's coming back. If he does, I think he's coming back really at the end of preseason. And I think I could see, White Johnson would be the odd man out. But I think they would try to. I think they would try to trade Isabella, or maybe even Kirk. I think they like Johnson as a backup. Like when you look at it, like we look at the receiver depth chart just like 1 through 6, but really you've got guys playing certain roles. You've got your outside receivers, then your slot receivers. And so like Rondale Moore and Christian Kirk aren't really backups to those outside receivers. And so Keyshawn Johnson really is kind of the primary backup. Him and Andy Isabella are both the kind of the backups to the outside receivers. So I think, Keyshawn is more, their outside receivers aren't the fastest guys, but they're a little bit bigger. So,
right.
So I don't think Keyshawn Johnson's the man out, actually. But
Yeah,
I
don't
wrong.
think Larry Fitzgerald's coming back either. It's just something. I don't think it's gonna happen. And I think the odd man out is Andy Isabella. And I've said this like 3 months ago. I always thought he was the odd man out. If we were to, cut, it's gonna be him. A lot of people still are not very happy with the whole DK Metcalf, getting him over him and this whole situation. And Keim's just gonna have to swallow that pill.
Yeah.
Let's see. Any last question you want to go ahead and get to here real quick before we end the stream?
I think we've answered quite a few of unless there's any that you want to, but okay. I think there's one. I'm sorry, good.
You want to do this one?
That's actually what I was looking at.
Let's do it. Okay. Last question. NFL AZ Cardinals. Congratulations. He says, question. He says, last question. Yeah. Is Kyler worth $45 to $50 million per year if he takes us to the playoffs? This is a fantastic question. You want me to answer first or you?
You go first. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
So this is his third year. I know the talk starts soon. Either this year, next year, but it's going to start happening soon. It's hard for me to say right now that I do think he's going to be worth 45 to 50. I can easily say that I would be comfortable with paying 38 to $41 million. I don't think he's the top tier unless somehow he completely balls out this year. And I'm talking about MVP, Patrick Mahomes type of stuff. Close to 50 touchdowns, just balls out. That's different. But like legit, like if we're skating by and we're getting into the like wild card, I don't know. Like I wouldn't put him in that top tier personally. So yes, I would do contract negotiations with him, but I would be like, bruh, let me get you on 38 to 41. Still amazing, but nothing that crazy. What do you think, man?
So, couple thoughts. One, you might not have a choice.
Yeah.
Right. You might just, that might just be what it's going to take to get done. When it comes to quarterbacks, either you have the guy or you don't.
Yeah.
If you don't have the guy, it's a mistake to pay him. That's what happened with the Rams and Jared Goff, right?
Yeah.
They paid him and had to dump him, right? Wentz paid him, had to dump him. So either you have him or you don't have him. And if you have him, you got to pay him. I think Kyler's the guy. If he gets us to the playoffs, then I think it's pretty clear he's the guy. But another thing to remember about quarterback contracts, he's only the top that contract would have him as a top 3 guy for about 6 months.
Yeah.
Because those contracts keep escalating. And the next season, you got the next group of rookies. And like next thing you know, Trevor Lawrence is signing a $60 million contract. And everyone's looking like, wow, Kyler's $47 million a year. That's not a bad contract, right?
Yeah.
So I think you don't have it. If he gets you there, you don't have a choice. If you think he's the guy, you got to pay him. And, and what we've seen is if teams try to dig their heels in, we saw what happened with Dak Prescott, right? Dak eventually won that. Even after he got a major contract after an injured season, right? So if he's the guy, we don't have a choice, and he's worth it.
That's tough, man. That's tough.
Is.
And you're right. It's the way the cookie crumbles, but that can very well come back. And I know there's a lot of people talking about he might very well leave us for baseball, but that's another topic for a different story. This year is going to tell a lot. Let me tell you this right now. He needs to come out of this season injury-free.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I need to say. Offensive line has been improved. Please stay injury-free, my guy, because we need you. Obviously, I would love to pay you to keep you as our franchise quarterback, but we need to see it on paper, y'all. All right, that's how we're going to end this live stream. Thanks again, Joseph. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. Everybody, definitely don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and also check out my guy, the Cardinal Rule, on YouTube as well. Go and check out his videos. Amazing content there as well, guys. Thank you so very much for watching. As always, have a great rest of your day and happy Monday.
See you guys. Peace.